Your goal is retirement. You're saving for it and dreaming of a lifestyle you will truly enjoy. That's nice. But what about the risks? Well, 6 of those risks to your retirement are the focus of this episode's Compass Wealth Conversation. Brendon Murphy, do you consider these 6 we're going to discuss the top issues facing retirees or would-be retirees?
I believe they are. I believe that every one of these hold a significant piece of, to have a secure retirement.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first one, everybody deals with this, right? Longevity. How long are we going to live? We don't know.
No one has the answer to that question. If they did, they'd be very rich because they could place a couple of bets to make sure that they, how long everyone lives. But outliving your financial assets, longevity, you have Social Security. It's going to pay you till you're here. And then how do you make sure that the rest of your assets live on top of it, right? Because for Social Security, most people, 38% of Social Security is their total assets going forward.
Yeah, that's just an incredible number.
So you have to find out where the rest of your retirement income is going to come from. And with pensions, with companies only having 4% of the companies still offering pensions, it's on the people today to make sure that their assets are going to live as long as they have.
And there are people out there who depend on Social Security for just about everything.
Yeah, I think their stat is that about 48% of Americans are living on Social Security alone.
Well, I'll tell you, that ain't in the Northeast.
It's not in the Northeast. The other problem is that right now, if you look at the stats for Social Security in 2033, they're saying that it's underfunded and that benefits might be reduced at some point if they don't make a couple changes to what's going on in the Social Security Administration.
Well, in your opinion, what kind of changes do you think they would make? Because this is a third rail thing. Congress is not really going to touch it.
They're not. But the point is that they're at some point they keep giving away free money. So at some point they're going to have to stop giving away free money and reinvest it into their constituents, right? Because the people that are receiving Social Security. So people who are in their 60s, 70s, yeah, they're probably set. They're probably nothing going to change. But for people who are in their 40s and they might not see what they're paying into because they're telling you it's a benefit. It's a benefit that the government's allowing you to take, but it's actually your money you're paying in.
And a lot of people, I don't think, realize that. They know they've been putting money into it, but they don't realize it's their money.
It's their money. So at some point, something's going to have to change in how and what they're doing.
And if they don't make those changes until, let's say, people are in their 40s and 50s, that cuts down on the amount of time those folks have to recoup, to do something else.
Yeah, to plan for their retirement, to plan for their pension. So everyone has a 401k, 403b nowadays. You have to invest in that because you're the one that's going to be responsible for the way you're going to live in retirement. So if you don't start till later in life to retire to plan to retire, it's not helpful.
Yeah. All right, we're mentioning Social Security here. Now, let's talk about mortality, number 2. You're married, you and your spouse both getting Social Security. Well, he or she dies, you're left. What happens?
So you actually would either bump up to the higher of the 2 Social Securities, but then you lose the other. So if you're living off of $7,000 Social Security, let's say the wife is making $4,000 and the husband has $3,000. Wife passes away, husband jumps up to the $4,000, but you lose the $3,000. You're jumping up to the higher benefit to make sure that you can stay somewhere relative to where you are in your income. So if you don't have that other piece on top of it, whether pension, whether self-directed pension, or any annuity payment on top of that, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. And then, of course, the market, number 3.
Yeah, the market is the market, right? Everyone's in the market, but it's the timing, right? And no one can time the market. But if you remember 2008, I think people do, people were getting ready to retire, and the market dropped, and they lost a huge, significant part of their retirement assets that they could have used if they had to put it aside, technically in an annuity to help pay for the income. They could have weathered the storm along the way. But the market is, it's an up and down, right? It's history. If you look at the history of the market, There are risky parts of it, but there are times when it's up. And the best part about when it's up, it'll always go back up. It won't always stay down. But along the way, if you can chip away pieces to make sure that your income will be there when you retire, it makes sense along the way.
And if you retire into a down market, talk about how long it takes to recoup what you've lost and just get back to even in your investments.
Yeah, it's not that the market goes up, it goes down 20%. You got to get back to 25, or you got to get back to 30. So if you lose 20%, if you lost 20% in 2008, you had to wait till it came back 30. So that was like a 5.5 year time frame for them to get back to even to where they were. If you had a bucket of money in, say, a fixed index annuity with guaranteed income, you didn't lose any money because there's a floor inside of it. But it on the way back up, your money continues to grow at a certain level. You get to a ceiling. You get to participate in the market. On the way back up, you never start over. But in a market setting, you lose that 20%. You have to do 30. If you lose 50% of your portfolio, you got to make it to 100 to get back to where you were.
And as you say, we don't know what the market's going to do.
No one does. I mean, they were saying they're going to lower interest rates, which is going to cause the market to crash. They are, steadfast. They dropped a little bit last week. The market's been up this week, depending on it is. So it's fluctuating. It does what it does. And until you figure, no one's going to figure out when it's going to drop. It's just how you're preparing for it for your retirement.
All right. The next one, liquidity. What do you mean by that? And how is that a risk?
If you don't have liquidity, is your access to your funds. Do you have emergency money? Do you keep a certain amount of emergency money? We recommend to our clients 10 to 20%, depending on where you are and how you live. God forbid, the world goes to hell in a handbasket. Can you live off of? Do you have enough savings to live in your own world for the next 6 to 8 months? The liquidity to that. Do you have liquidity in your investments? Can you sell off stock? You don't want to sell off stock when it's down. Do you have other assets, whether it's annuity you can pull from when markets are down, or you can take from the investments when the market's up? So the liquidity feature, how you can use cash to help guide you along during those down times.
Talk about that a little bit more, because I think that's something that some people don't think about.
Yeah, so the liquidity piece is, it could be income, it could be investments from life insurance, it could be whether you pull from one investment in up times or whether you pull it from down times. The savings accounts, so what do you keep in money markets, savings, CDs? Just that liquidity that you have that cash to make sure that, God forbid, market goes down, you still have enough living that you're not pulling off of investment when it's down.
Should you be concerned about how easy it is to get that cash?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more of, hey, let's keep it in the checking, savings, money markets. It's right there. Hey, this is the emergency fund. Car blows up, roof, besides the insurance coming back, but you need to put that money out of pocket until you get it back. Those types of things go along the way. God forbid, spouse passes away, you don't have the funds in your checking account to help offset some of those, pieces till your estate's closed or it's paid out. You need those funds. Major medical issues, you need that kind of emergency funds just for those situations.
All right. You mentioned inflation and the Fed and interest rates. Talk about that, because it's on a lot of people's minds right now, especially when you go to the supermarket.
Yeah, $4.89 in Giant to buy a gallon of milk. I mean, where was it 4 years ago?
I know.
It's inflation's about 6.3% right now, something like that. It just reduces your purchasing power. It reduces what you're spending per month. So that extra, liquidity that you have can help out in the situations where we're at an all-time high for everything that people need.
Well, in retirement, though, you're quote-unquote fixed income. How do you hedge against inflation? I mean, how can you deal with that?
You're going to get your COLA through Social Security. You'll get a COLA seemingly every year, depending on how often, or how they give it to you. Your bucket, how you bucket your money for longevity. whether it be an annuity, whether it be distributions from RMDs, how you take those, when you take them, if you're living off of your investments, it's just depending on how you set up your retirement, and having those conversations with a professional to make sure that, hey, if I have to, where can I get the money to help me continue to live in my own world?
Mm-hmm. And then the sixth one, this final risk, it boggles my mind, the debt, the national debt.
Yeah. Taxes, the debt, we all have to pay taxes, regardless of what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. Uncle Sam will get their money. It just depends on how you want to pay it and when you want to pay it, right? And how you can reduce your taxes. So we're living in the best. I'm going to say we're in the 20s right now. This is the best tax rate environment we're going to be in the next maybe 20 years, right? The government did during the pandemic. They gave away a bunch of free money. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's going to come down to the taxpayers. So, they gave out money during the pandemic. They keep printing it and giving it away. It's coming to us. So in 2026, we could look at something going up to the taxes in the 30s.
We've been there before, though, right?
We have, but it's just more about looking at it, like especially retirement, because you're going to have to pay taxes on RMDs, on qualified plan distributions. So maybe you look at starting to do those now. Maybe if you're able to contribute to Roth IRAs along the way, pay the taxes now because of the tax rate environment we're in. Life insurance, investing in life insurance for tax-free distributions later in life can help out. Maxing out your 401k, great. You can do that. 403b, you do those, get the tax write-offs. The extra dollars, go up to the match and then max out maybe somewhere else in a Roth IRA. Life insurance, if you can't hit the number for the Roth IRA because you hit the limits, and look at it that way.
We haven't touched on the one big word, saving. Why aren't people saving?
Because inflation is where it is, because they're spending double the amount they did on groceries. The average U.S. savings is about 3 to 5%. The top 10% of American, the higher interest earners are saving 9 to 12. But required savings for retirement is 30 to 35%.
We're nowhere near that. Yeah,
nowhere near that. No, I mean, they're saying the average savings for medical expenses, I think we touched on this the last time, was $250,000. We don't meet too many people that have $250,000 set aside just for medical expenses, right? So the savings is, it's almost like the 50-20-30 rule. You get paid, put 30% of that right away. Your savings wherever you can. 50% is your bills to the dollar, and 20% is for that, hey, I want to go out to dinner. I want to look at that. I want to go out to dinner. I want to do certain things with my family. But if you can kind of live that way, put that 30% away, it'll help you along the way to build up a nice savings, and then either invest it somewhere. You can invest it in the Roth IRA. You can invest in life insurance to help continue to help save along the way.
How do your clients feel when you tell them, hey, I'd like you to save 30%?
That's a lot of eye rolls in the beginning. But when you get to the point of having the conversation about it and showing them where it could take you and how it can help you later in life, they can see the future being a little bit brighter by doing it that way. Yes, you have to diminish a little bit of it, right? A little bit of the spending that you're doing now. But when you want to do all the things you want to do later in life, and everyone says, like, I can't wait to retire to do everything I want to do. Well, why not try to do it now? By saving, you can use some of that savings to do it now, but also be putting it away for later on so you can actually do all the things you plan to do in that retirement situation.
Right. Brendon, is there something we haven't touched on here that you want to make sure we do?
The other consideration is that medical piece that we're talking about. Planning for care later on. We talked about it the last time we talked. Mm-hmm. It's a 50-50 scenario. It's a huge killer of someone's portfolio to have to put out the assets to pay for some type of care scenario later in life. So if you're planning considerations, it might be the seventh one is some type of long-term care planning along the way, right? If you can do it when you're younger, you run a business, you own a business, talk to your accountant, talk to your financial professional. There's a way to purchase it while you're working so you can have benefits for you and your spouse, whoever it may be, partner, along the way. See if you can do it. Recommend that, if you're in your 40s, 50s, start looking at some type of traditional long-term care if you can, where a hybrid policy like we talked about the last time that you can fund, and it'll be paid up by the time you're 65, 67. So it's already paid up. You have the benefit. It's a leveraged scenario where using savings dollars along the way will save you a ton of money later in life. And we talked about the mortality. So if that one spouse passes away, the other spouse would still have it, right? So it takes into consideration because you're not there to take care of the other spouse. So if I had to add anything to that, it would be some kind of long-term care planning, regardless of what goes on, to add to the financial planning considerations when you're getting ready to retire.
Well, how can someone reach you, Brendon? Because I'm sure this will spark some thoughts of maybe I really should start considering different ways to go, because the market, the economy, we don't know where it's going, but we are getting older.
Yeah, we are getting older. The best way to reach us, you can go to our website. It's www.mycfsi.com, or you can call us. Our office is 610-449-9900. We have socials, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us all over. We're happy to have conversations. It's all based around conversations.
All right, folks. Plan for the retirement you want. Have that conversation with Brendon and all the other folks at Compass Financial Solutions. Don't forget to follow and share this podcast. And, of course, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the Compass Wealth Conversations podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.mycfsi.com. That's www.mycfsi.com. Or give us a call at 610-449-9900. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Compass Financial Solutions Incorporated. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Please note that the information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only. All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of any institutions or entities they may be affiliated with. This podcast should not be considered as financial or tax advice. We strongly recommend consulting with a professional financial advisor or tax professional to get advice tailored to your specific situation before making any financial decisions.